Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Betrayal or Not, the channel where one single question drives the entire story. Did they cheat or not? If you're new here, here's how it works. Stephanie narrates a story based on real-life situations filled with tension, complicated relationships, and those little clues that make you question everything. I'm Ryan Cooper, and I'll be here on the other side, breaking it all down, trying to figure out with you whether or not there was betrayal. And today's story is called The New Trainer. Connor just joined a gym and is hitting the workouts hard. He's excited, focused, pumped, especially about the new trainer. The issue? His wife, Allison, is not enjoying any of that excitement, smells like trouble, and there's only one way to find out. Let's discover. Together, betrayal or not, let's get into it.
Allison Reed was scrolling through her phone, not really reading anything. It was more of a habit, or maybe an escape. The scent of freshly brewed coffee still hung in the air, but the mug in front of her was almost untouched. It was 7:35, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, and yet something felt off. Connor walked into the kitchen, adjusting his tie, his brown hair still damp from the shower. He was 33, tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy smile that, until recently, could still melt her in seconds. But lately, not so much. He was still the man she loved, the man she had married just 3 years ago. She still admired the way he talked to clients on the phone, the way he'd casually touch her hand while watching TV. But something had shifted. "Not gonna drink your coffee?" he asked, kissing the top of her head. "It's still too hot," she replied, eyes still fixed on her screen. Connor grabbed his own mug and leaned against the counter. He was wearing a white dress shirt that no longer quite hid the slight belly he'd gained. He'd never been overweight, far from it, but he'd definitely put on a few pounds in recent months. More than that, he looked drained. Allison finally looked up at him. "You haven't been sleeping well, and your diet's gotten worse." Connor let out a soft laugh. "I'm working too much, Allie. You know that. Things are crazy at the office." "I know, but that's exactly why you need to take care of yourself. Your energy's low, your mood's off, and even between us, things feel different." She didn't say it with resentment. It was concern, and he noticed. "You saying I'm getting ugly?" he joked, trying to lighten the mood. "You're getting exhausted, and that worries me." She reached out, gently squeezing his hand. "It's not about how you look. It's about your health, your presence. I feel like you're drifting, even when you're right here." Connor looked at her for a moment, longer than usual. Then he smiled. One of those rare smiles that could still melt her, even on tough days. "Okay, you win. Find me a gym that lets guys work out in suits during lunch breaks." "Actually, I already did." She slid her phone across the counter, showing a page from Elevate Fitness Studio. "It's just 3 blocks from your office. They offer custom programs. It can totally fit into your schedule." "You already had this plan, didn't you?" He laughed, impressed. "You're scarily good at reading me." "I know you." That morning, as Connor walked out the door, Allison watched him head to the car. She still loved that man, still felt her heart tighten in a good way when she looked at him. But over the past few months, she'd also started feeling a new kind of unease, like something between them was slowly turning into silence. 2 days later, Connor walked through the doors of Elevate Fitness Studio for the first time. The place was sleek, clean, with glass walls and a modern, almost clinical vibe, but stylish. He wore new workout clothes, which still felt awkward on a body not used to physical strain. At the front desk, he was greeted by a tall woman with confident posture, a bright smile, and sharp eyes. "You must be Connor Reed," she said, extending a hand. "I'm Sierra Kerrigan. I'll be your personal trainer." Connor shook her hand, noting her firm grip. Sierra had striking green eyes, dark brown hair pulled into a high ponytail, and a commanding, almost magnetic presence. She looked like she was in her mid-20s, but carried herself with rare confidence. The kind of woman who didn't shrink herself for anyone. "First time at a gym?" she asked with a smirk, not mocking, just playful. "First time with a personal trainer," he replied, trying to sound casual. "And in this kind of outfit." She laughed. "You'll get used to it. We'll start slow. I want to understand your goals, what you expect, what hurts, what needs work. Body and mind go together, okay?" Connor nodded. Her voice had rhythm, clarity, a calming authority that made things seem easier. "We'll set up a full assessment and build your plan from there. You'll do great. It all depends on you." That evening, when he got home, Connor enthusiastically told Allison about the gym, the structure, the whole approach. She listened, smiling. She liked seeing him excited again. Maybe this really was the start of a new chapter, for both of them. "And how's the trainer?" she asked. "Really skilled, knows what she's doing," he said, grabbing a glass of water. Allison simply nodded. She wasn't the jealous type. She trusted Connor. But she couldn't help noticing how, just for a second, he'd avoided the details. She didn't say anything. She just observed. Sweat trickled down Connor's temple as he gripped the leg press bar, focused on keeping the pace Sierra had set. Electronic music pulsed through the gym, and Sierra's voice cut through the noise, clear, firm, and direct. "2 more, Connor." "Come on, this is easy for you," she said, flashing that ever-present smile. He exhaled through his lips, pushing the weight with force. Sierra was crouched next to him, close enough to watch his knees move. Just inches away. Her tight sports bra outlined her chiseled abs perfectly, and her leggings hugged her toned legs with precision. Connor glanced at her for a split second. He noticed every curve, but he quickly looked away, like he was trying to protect something or someone. He took a deep breath. "That weight's getting light, huh?" she teased, lightly tapping his shoulder with the tips of her fingers. The touch was barely there, but it was there. Connor chuckled, catching his breath. "Or maybe I'm just getting stronger," he joked. Sierra raised an eyebrow. "I'd say both, but mostly you." She sprang up and walked off to grab a towel. Connor watched her for half a second longer than he should have, then turned his head, wiping his face with his shirt. The truth was, something about Sierra drew him in, and denying it would have been pointless. Yes, she was beautiful, but it wasn't just that. It was how she mixed confidence with subtle flirtation. There were no outright moves, no blatant flirting, but the looks, the little gestures, the tone, all of it blurred the line between professional and personal. Still, Connor had never crossed that line. Or at least, that's what he kept telling himself. The weeks flew by. After a month, he'd already lost 10 pounds, built muscle, and developed a solid discipline. He was cutting out alcohol, eating cleaner, sleeping better. And Allison noticed all of it. "You've got a spark I haven't seen in a long time," she said one night as he washed the dishes after dinner. "The gym's really helping. It's weird, like everything feels clearer. And your body..." She ran her hand along his abs. "You look amazing." Connor smiled, still facing the sink. "Yeah, guess the trainer's doing a good job." Allison hesitated for a second. "She sounds great," she said, trying to sound casual. That night, while brushing her teeth, she kept replaying that line. Maybe it was because he'd said "the trainer," as if avoiding her name. Or maybe it was just exhaustion and a hint of insecurity. Then, by the end of that week, it happened. An unexpected encounter. They were having dinner at a cozy little Italian restaurant near their home, one of their favorite spots. Allison was enjoying a glass of red wine when she saw Connor look up and smile at someone approaching. "Well, look who it is," he said. Sierra appeared beside their table, wearing a simple black dress that hugged her in all the right places. Her hair was down, makeup light, the kind of beauty that didn't need effort, and that smile, a bit too wide maybe. "Connor, I didn't realize it was you. How are you?" "Hey, yeah, we're just out for dinner near home. This is my wife, Allison." "Nice to meet you, Allison. Really nice to meet you," Sierra said, extending her hand. The handshake was firm, but what caught Allison's attention was the way she looked at Connor, like she knew him a little too well, like there was a kind of intimacy that didn't belong. "Pleasure," Allison replied, matching the smile, but her gaze was steady. "He's been crushing it at the gym," Sierra said, eyes still locked on Connor. "I can tell. I've definitely noticed." "The difference," Allison said, keeping her tone light. "He's more energetic, and happier too." Sierra let out a short laugh. "That's what matters most." A moment later, Sierra said goodbye and walked to another table. Allison watched her walk away. "That's your trainer?" she asked, eyes still on him. "Yeah, that's her. Funny running into her, huh?" Allison just nodded. "She's gorgeous." Connor shrugged. "She is, but she's super professional, really helpful." There was too much excitement in his voice. Allison smiled, but something inside her tightened. In the days that followed, that feeling didn't go away. She loved seeing Connor, so alive again. The spark between them was back, his mood was lighter, and their conversations flowed more easily. But every time he left for the gym, a knot formed in her stomach. That Wednesday morning over breakfast, she watched him talk about his new workout. Routine. She's got this radar, like she just knows when to push and when to ease off. "Feels like she gets me better than I get myself," he said, tossing fruit into his yogurt. Allison just nodded, stirring her coffee. She had no doubt Sierra was observant, but she was starting to think, maybe too observant. This wasn't jealousy. It was instinct, and maybe a warning.
We all look. Everyone looks. And Connor? Well, he definitely looked, more than once. And with a trainer like Sierra, who wouldn't? But here's the real question. When does looking stop being just looking? It's been a month since he started training. He's healthier, leaner, hotter. And Allison, the wife, noticed. In fact, she liked it. Their chemistry came back, his mood improved, even their daily life got lighter. But there's one little detail. Connor talks about Sierra with an energy that's hard to miss, and Allison felt that. It's not insecurity. It's that sixth sense we all have. And that moment at the restaurant, the way they looked at each other, that smile that lingered. Too long, the vibe that felt a bit too intimate? So now I ask you, is it enough to say Connor is getting too close to his trainer? Or is Allison seeing ghosts where there aren't any? Is it too early to judge, or already too late to ignore? Because that line between trust and intuition, it's way thinner than it looks.
Time felt like it was turning against Allison Reed. With each passing day, a quiet restlessness grew inside her, subtle but relentless, like a faucet that never stops dripping. 3 months had passed since Connor started training with Sierra Kerrigan, and the results were undeniable. Connor was more energetic, more focused, and definitely more attractive. His shoulders were broader, his back muscles more defined, his waist leaner. And it wasn't just his body. He was more playful, more affectionate. Even their sex life had picked up again, with a whole new energy. At first, he talked about Sierra all the time. "Sierra killed me with that workout today. She's got a great recovery strategy. Sierra says I'm making major progress." It was Sierra this, Sierra that, all said with an almost teenage enthusiasm. Allison would listen, smile, praise the results. But inside, something twisted. A sting of discomfort. Not exactly jealousy, or maybe it was. Now, oddly enough, he barely mentioned his trainer anymore, not a single word in the past month. Her name had vanished from their routine like dust swept under the rug. And strangely, That was worse. One night, while they were doing the dishes after dinner, Allison finally asked the question she'd been rehearsing for days. "Are you still training with the same trainer?" Connor looked at her quickly, caught off guard. "Sierra? Yeah. Why? You don't talk about her anymore. You used to say Sierra this and Sierra that. And now, nothing. I thought maybe you'd switched trainers." He shrugged casually. "I figured you got a little uncomfortable when I talked about her." Uncomfortable? Jealous. He said it clearly. Allison let out a short, dry laugh, but didn't respond right away. She dried a glass and placed it on the shelf. "I'm not jealous, Connor. It's just that she's very beautiful, the kind of woman who makes a room turn when she walks in." He stepped closer, placing his hands lightly on her back. "You're beautiful too, and nothing like her. I love you. Nothing has ever happened with Sierra. It's strictly professional." She slowly turned to face him, still holding the dish towel. "I believe you. But can you understand how hard it is for a wife to realize that another woman knows her husband's schedule, habits, even his muscles, better than she does?" He smiled, but there was a tiredness behind it. "I didn't know I had to filter my excitement. You've always supported me. I thought you'd be happy for me." "I am. It's just, I don't know how far that excitement goes. And that bothers me." The silence between them wasn't cold, but it was thick, like they both had much more to say, and didn't. That Saturday morning, Connor showed up dressed for a run. Fitted t-shirt, earbuds around. His neck and a level of energy she hadn't seen in years, at least not before the workouts. She wants to switch things up today. "We're training outdoors, a circuit at that park by the lake. She said it'd be good to mix things up." Allison smiled faintly, sipping her coffee. "Sierra, always full of ideas, huh?" Connor pretended not to notice the tone. "She knows what she's doing. And I'm glad you opened up about how you were feeling. I've been more aware since our talk." "That's good," she replied, not looking up from her cup. "I think keeping these conversations going is important." He kissed her forehead and left. Allison stayed in the kitchen, listening to the sound of the door closing. She kept thinking about his words, his calm tone, the absence of guilt, and still, something didn't sit right. The discomfort wasn't in what he was saying, but in what he wasn't saying anymore. The afternoon dragged on. While she reviewed pages of a novel for work, her thoughts kept circling back to the park. Sierra and Connor, alone, running, breathing in sync, laughing. By the time he came home, his face was sun-kissed, and he was holding a sports drink. The workout was intense, but the place is really beautiful. I'll take you there one day. You look good, she said, glancing at him. I feel good, he replied. Really good. That night, Allison went to bed early, but she didn't sleep. She lay on her side, eyes fixed on the ceiling, listening to Connor's footsteps downstairs. He was in the living room, maybe watching TV or texting. She knew jealousy could play tricks. She knew she might be overthinking it, but she also knew one thing. When a woman loves, and when she's being betrayed, even if it's just emotional, she knows, even in the silence. The morning air in the gym was thick and heavy, cold lights, the smell of iron, sweat, and eucalyptus. Connor was adjusting weights under Sierra Kerrigan's sharp and undeniably provocative gaze. She wore tight black leggings and a burgundy sports bra. Her body sculpted, hair tied high, and that smile wasn't just professional, it was presence, confidence, and a certain game she clearly knew how to play. Come on, Reed, 2 more sets. Let's see if your abs can handle it. Or if you're gonna tap out again. You're trying to kill me, Sierra. She stepped closer, gripping his arms while he powered through the reps. her fingers squeezed just a bit harder than needed. Maybe I'm just trying to sculpt you. My way seems to be working, doesn't it? Connor smirked, avoiding direct eye contact. So I'm your little project now? You're one of my favorites, she whispered, with a quick wink. He just laughed. No denial, no confirmation. Like someone, flirting with the edge, without crossing the line. At the end of the workout, she gently touched his shoulder. You still owe me that post-workout smoothie, by the way. Don't think I forgot. Oh, right. I'll get to it someday. Hopefully not too late. I'm not a patient woman. He laughed again, grabbed his towel, and left. But even in the car, he could still feel her touch on his skin, like a mark that wouldn't fade. That evening, back home, Connor came out of the shower and went straight to the home office. Still drying his hair, phone in hand, Allison was finishing up in the kitchen when she heard his voice, muffled by the half-open door. You wrecked me today, seriously. I don't even know how I'm still standing. Laughter. No. You're scaring me now. If that was a workout, I might not survive what's coming. More laughter. Okay, tomorrow I'll come prepared. Or vulnerable. Not sure yet. Allison froze for a few seconds. The tone was light, intimate. Way too intimate for something strictly professional. And why was she calling him at night? They'd just spent over an hour together at the gym. That didn't sound like planning a workout. It sounded like teasing, flirting, playfulness between two people who shared more than stretches and reps. She went up the stairs quietly, her body warm, her hands cold. The following week wasn't any easier. On Monday, Connor said he had a late meeting, an old client, complicated case. He ate dinner quickly and left. On Wednesday, another meeting. This client's super detail-oriented, he explained. Wants to go over everything in person. Allison didn't argue. She just checked the clock and nodded. But the déjà vu was as strong as the growing unease. Connor was quieter, or maybe just more selective with his words. Sierra's name had vanished from his vocabulary, but not from Allison's thoughts. By Friday night, Allison was alone in the living room, holding a glass of chilled white wine, the TV playing softly. In the background, her phone sat beside her. No messages. Connor hadn't texted since he'd left for that supposed client meeting. She stared into the reflection of the glass, her thoughts split in two. The part of her that wanted to trust him, and the part that simply couldn't anymore.
He smiles. She pretends not to notice. The other woman calls, and he picks up. The wife hears it, and swallows hard. Cheating doesn't start in bed. It starts when the voice you crave the most is no longer the one you sleep next to. Connor can call it work. He can swear he loves Allison, but the body doesn't lie. And silence? Sometimes it screams louder than any I love you. So tell me, would you trust him, or do you think Allison's reading too much into it?
The clink of metal weights, the hum of the fans, and the pounding beat of electronic music filled the gym with intensity. Connor was drenched in sweat, his body moving in perfect sync with Sierra's voice, and her hands. She was especially upbeat that day, wearing a fitted blue set that hugged every curve with dangerous precision, and that ever-present smile, looser than usual. You're doing great, Reed, she said, lightly placing her hand on his lower back as he finished a set. But there's still tension here. Want me to help you loosen up a bit more? Connor smiled, his face flushed. Part effort, part something else. Tension? I think that comes with the package. Sierra leaned in closer, her eyes locked onto his. Well, if you ever need to relax, you know where to find me. He laughed, didn't answer. But it was obvious her words had landed. He quickly pulled his towel forward, trying to hide the sudden reaction. And it was in that exact moment that Allison walked into the gym. She spotted them before they noticed her. She saw how close Sierra was standing, saw how her hands rested on her husband's hips with way too much familiarity, saw Connor's smile, and saw the exact second he noticed her. "Allison?" he said, startled, stepping back quickly. "What are you doing here?" She walked up calmly, voice level. "I decided to start working out. You've been doing so. Great. I figured it was time I moved a little too." Sierra beamed. "That's awesome. We can schedule an evaluation if you'd like." "Actually," Allison replied, turning toward the front desk, "I already did." At that moment, Bob appeared. Tall, sun-kissed skin, defined arms, and grayish-blue eyes. A kind and easy smile on his lips. "Allison, I'm Bob. Ready to get started?" Connor looked the man up and down, barely hiding his discomfort. The tight shirt left little to the imagination, and he quickly realized the guy wasn't just athletic. He was absurdly handsome. "All set," Allison replied warmly. "Shall we?" "Of course. I just need to take a few measurements, and then we can move on to the fun part," Bob said, giving her a quick wink. Connor took a deep breath, slowly turning back toward Sierra. She was watching the scene, her interest thinly disguised. "That your trainer?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes," Allison replied over her shoulder, already walking away. "Looks like he's gonna go easy on me today." "No promises," Bob said, laughing. "You're definitely gonna sweat." She glanced briefly at her husband, her face calm. "Good luck with the rest of your workout." And just like that, she disappeared down the gym's hallway with Bob by her side, leaving Connor standing there, uncomfortable, still holding his towel. Sierra came closer again, more reserved this time. "She's beautiful." "I know," Connor replied curtly. "And smart," Sierra added. "Looks like she just figured out how this game works." Connor gave her a quick glance, unsmiling. "Want to finish the circuit?" she asked, voice back to neutral. "Or call." Today? He took a deep breath. "Let's finish." But that day, for the first time in months, he lost his rhythm.
Whoa, Connor almost got caught red-handed, and let's be honest, that wasn't just a friendly stretch session. And that towel he pulled forward? Yeah, it said more than any excuse he could have made. But let's give it up for Allison. She's no fool. While he's been busy charming his trainer, she just showed up with her own personal eye candy. Bob, who, let's be real, didn't just bring good posture, he brought heat. Now tell me, is this becoming a competition? Because if it is, it's starting to get very entertaining.
Saturday started off calm at the Reed household, but Connor was still replaying the scene at the gym over and over in his head. Allison, wearing that new workout top, smiling at Bob like they'd known each other for years. It was only her first day of training, but the chemistry already felt a little too familiar. In the kitchen, she was making a post-workout smoothie when he walked in, still towel drying his hair. "You didn't tell me you were training today," he said, grabbing a mug. "I wanted to surprise you," she replied, smiling. "And also, I need to move more, beyond just Pilates. Bob knows Pilates too. He said he could help me with that." Connor didn't like the excitement in her voice. It sounded a little too enthusiastic. "Cool," he muttered. In the days that followed, Bob's name became a regular feature in their conversations. Bob said my hips are more aligned. Bob said my posture is getting better. Bob gave me an amazing ab workout series. Connor listened in silence, sometimes clenching his jaw. He was starting to taste his own poison. The same kind of excitement he once had for Sierra was now coming from his wife's mouth. The next Saturday morning, Allison walked into the living room wearing compression leggings, brand new sneakers, and her hair tied back to perfection. She looked stunning and ready for a run. "You're going." "Running?" Connor asked, surprised. "I thought you hated running." She grabbed her earbuds and water bottle. "Bob said running helps tone the legs, and it's great for breath control in Pilates." Connor stared. "You're doing this to get back at me, aren't you?" he said, humorless. "I don't know what you're talking about," she replied, playing innocent. "So that's it." "You're doing this because of how you felt about Sierra," he said, frustrated. "You're jealous?" she asked. "Yes, I won't lie. Bob's huge, ripped, good-looking, and all you do is talk about him." "Bob this, Bob that," he said, mocking her voice. She smiled. "You're being silly and way too jealous. I'm just taking care of my body. Same as you do, with Sierra." Connor swallowed hard. The casual mention of Sierra's name hit a nerve. "It's just a professional relationship, Connor," she continued, like placing the final piece on a chessboard. "You don't have to worry." She winked, then stepped closer and tapped his chest with her finger. "Maybe we can even train together sometime. Could be fun." And with that, she walked out, leaving behind the scent of perfume and a light trace of irony. Half an hour later, Connor was on the phone with Sierra. "You got time now?" "For you? Always." The workout was more intense than usual. He threw himself into the weights like he was trying to sweat the frustration out of his system. Sierra noticed. "Not in the mood today?" she teased. "You're tense, Reed." "Maybe I just need to blow off some steam." Sierra leaned against the machine where he was stretching, looking straight at him. "No filters. I know how to help you relax." He stared at her, sweat dripping down his temple. "Sierra," "Shh," she said. "Today I'm closing the gym. No one comes in, no one sees." He hesitated for a second, but the second passed. She kissed him. Hungry, in control. He kissed. Back. Her hands were already pulling his shirt off, guiding him toward the locker room. The place was quiet, lights dimmed, completely empty. Sierra pushed him into the shower, stripping his clothes quickly, and they vanished into the steam and muffled moans. In the gym parking lot, Allison stepped out of the car with Bob. "Thanks for coming with me," she said. "I needed to use the restroom anyway." "No problem. I've got to pick up some reports at the front desk," he replied with a smile. Allison walked down the now familiar hallway, heading toward the women's restroom. She went in, washed her face, took a deep breath, trying to clear her head. But as she stepped out, she heard something coming from the men's locker room, a muffled sound, laughter, moans, and a familiar voice. Curious and deep down, already alarmed, she stepped quietly toward the shower area where the sounds were coming from, and then she heard it clearly. "Sierra, you drive me crazy. It's been like this since the first month." Her heart stopped. She took another step, and through the fogged-up glass, she saw what she never expected. Connor, her husband, in Sierra's arms, their bodies pressed together, moving in sync with the moans and heavy breathing. "This extra workout is gonna kill me one day," he said, panting. Allison didn't scream, didn't make a scene. She just turned around, face pale, and walked away. Bob appeared in the hallway and saw her. "Allison, are you okay?" She only whispered, like a cold wind. "My husband." Bob looked toward the direction of the sounds and instantly understood. "Let's get out of here. Give me your car keys. You can't drive like this." She handed them, over without saying a word. He took her hand and led her away. Away from the gym, away from Sierra, away from Connor.
I knew it. I knew that son of a Reed was sleeping with Sierra. He'd been cheating on Allison for months, and the poor woman was out there, doubting her own intuition. This is the worst kind of betrayal, when you start thinking you're being dramatic, and all along you were right. Now, what's she going to do? Because if it were me, that extra workout would end with a dumbbell straight to that jerk's head. But Allison is smart, and she's hurt. And hurt people, they react.
Allison asked Bob not to take her straight home. "I need to breathe. I can't walk in there right now," she said, her voice trembling. Bob nodded, visibly unsettled. "Do you want me to take you somewhere?" A park. Anywhere. He drove her to a nearby park, in silence. He didn't know what to do. He had never dealt with something like this, and the look in her eyes, broken, said it all. When he parked, she said, "You can go now. You've already done more than you needed to." Bob hesitated. I can't leave you here alone. I don't know what to say, but I also can't just drive away." She looked at him from the corner of her eye. He seemed genuine, lost, but present. "You're a good person, Allison. You don't deserve this, but I probably don't even know you well enough to talk to you about it." She laughed, for the first time in hours. "It's okay, Bob. Just stay." And he stayed, discreet, respectful. He didn't ask anything. A few minutes later, she said, "I need to go home." "Are you sure?" "No, but I know I'll figure out what to do." He offered to help in any way he could. She thanked him. The drive back home was silent. In the days that followed, Allison decided not to confront Connor. Not yet. She pretended not to know anything. To avoid any physical contact, she said she was undergoing a gynecological treatment that required her to avoid sex for a month. Connor found it odd, but was understanding. "Of course, babe. Whatever's best for you." "I'm sure you'll survive," she said with a half smile. "You always find a way." He laughed, unaware of the irony. She kept training with Bob. She talked about him all the time, effortlessly, like someone who had already internalized this new routine. 3 weeks later, in the middle of a workout, she stopped. "Bob?" "Yes?" "I know what I'm going to do." He looked at her. "And you're going to need my help, aren't you?" She smiled. "I am." A few days later, Connor got home, calling out for his wife. He went upstairs and stopped at the slightly open bedroom door. He heard a moan. He stepped inside and froze. Bob was on top of Allison, in their bed. Both of them naked, their bodies pressed together, breathing heavy. You're cheating on me?" Connor stammered. Allison, calm, turned her face toward him. "No, I'm just returning the favor." "What?" "You've been cheating on me with Sierra for months, and don't try to deny it because I saw it. I heard it and saw it with my own eyes and ears. You made it very clear this has been going on for a while." Bob got up, quickly slipping on his underwear. "You set all this up just for revenge?" Connor shouted. Bob turned to him, firm. "Hey, watch how you talk to her. Show some respect." Connor stepped back, realizing that picking a fight right now wouldn't be smart. Bob finished getting dressed, grabbed her robe, and tossed it onto the bed. "You should go now, Bob," Allison said calmly. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Everything's under control," she said, smiling at him to reassure him. He walked over to her, gave her a peck on the lips, and smiled. Connor grumbled. "I'll call you later," Bob said. "Thanks for the extra workout," she added, ironically, looking straight at Connor. Bob walked out laughing. Allison wrapped herself in the robe and faced her husband. "I want a divorce, Connor." "What? You're going to stay with Bob?" She looked at him. "Seriously? That's your question?" "But now we're even." "No, we're not. You know what the difference is between us? I would never have cheated on you. If I had fallen for another man, I would have ended things with you first. I'm loyal. I'm honest." Connor tried to justify himself. "Allison, What? You're going to say it's my fault? That you were driven to cheat because I didn't do something? Don't even try. I was always by your side. I cared about you, about your health. That's why I suggested the gym in the first place. I never imagined you'd replace me with the trainer." "I didn't replace you." "Yes, you did, Connor. Themament, you gave in to your lust and destroyed what we had. And it wasn't because of a lack of sex. Because our sex life was above average. And you know that." Connor fell silent. He ran his hand through his hair, completely lost. "Now we're free. You can stay with Sierra, or whoever you want. And you Are you going to stay with Bob? Maybe, she answered firmly. He respects me. He takes care of me. He's funny, honest, and yes, he's got plenty of skills, she smirked. Oh, and the extra workouts are spectacular. Connor turned pale. Allison walked toward the bathroom, stopping at the door. Go to a hotel, or go to Sierra. I don't care. I just don't want you here. Are you sure? He asked, trying to hold on to something. I've had a whole month to think about it. It's over, Connor. She walked into the bathroom. The sound of the shower echoed. Connor stood still. The worst part was, she was right. She never would have cheated on him. She probably did like Bob, or she wouldn't have slept with him. It wasn't just revenge, and he knew it. Allison had been loyal all the way, but he hadn't. He was weak, selfish. He passed by the closet and grabbed a suitcase, clothes, shoes, phone in his pocket. He had no idea where to go. Sierra was desire, not home. Allison was home, and he destroyed everything. As he walked down the stairs, a tear fell. 2 months ago, they were talking about having kids. Kids she would never have with him, because of him.
Connor got a taste of his own poison. I know a lot of people might not agree with Allison's move, but honestly, I loved it. And the best part? It wasn't just about revenge, even Connor saw that. Allison wouldn't have done what she did. If it weren't for everything he caused, she genuinely liked Bob. And between us, I really hope Bob is the good guy he seems to be, because she deserves it. Now, Connor, let this be a lesson. Life is made of choices, and every choice has a consequence. What? We plant, we always harvest, always. And that's today's story, folks. If you enjoyed this episode full of twists and turns, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It helps us a lot to keep bringing you these jaw-dropping stories. And of course, don't miss the next episode where the question is always the same: was it betrayal or not? I'll see you there.